MSNBC's Chuck Todd held a panel discussion on the economy and blamed the right-wing echo chamber for Americans' dissatisfaction with the economy.
I want to go back to this, Jen. I mean, I 51% believe the economy's in a recession or depression. I mean, look, it's just not true.
I know.
This economy is frustrating. This economy with COVID has been, I've got money and I can't find something. But my God, there's jobs. There's good jobs. Is this the right-wing echo chamber is better than the Democratic echo chamber? Or
For sure.
Echo chamber? Or is there something else missing here?
I mean, for sure, the right-wing echo chamber is always better than Democratic echo chamber. It's not because Democrats aren't smart and strategic. It's because we just don't repeat what we're told to say, and we never will.
And it's not just the right-wing echo chamber. Todd came up with another theory for economic concern, that Americans just simply aren't grateful enough.
I think it's broader than just the economic, right? People go to a restaurant and there's not enough wait staff. They go to the grocery store. They can't always get what they want at the time they want it.
We don't feel first world enough.
Exactly.
I think that weirdly enough.
And
it's like, I want to tell people, go live in another country and realize we have it pretty good.
Even CNN can admit that their viewers are zeroing in on inflation. The network's poll of Biden's State of the Union found that a majority of viewers wanted Biden to address inflation more during his speech.
Take a look at this question here. We said, did Biden do enough to address some of the major issues here? On Russia's invasion of Ukraine, 69% said the president did enough to address that. But look at this. For the domestic issues that the White House is so keenly aware of in this midterm election year that are potential problems for Biden, they still seem to be problems. 47% said he did enough on inflation. 46% said he did enough on violent crime. Majorities for both inflation and violent crime said he did not do enough. And again, I just want to remind you, that is the majority of a speech-watching audience that is more Democratic than the American populace overall.
And according to a new ABC News Washington Post poll, 75% of Americans rate the economy's condition as not so good or poor, the most since 2013. 54% of those surveyed say they trust the GOP to handle the economy better, and just 17% say they are better off now compared to the 35% who reported being worse off. All right, co-host of the Useful Idiots podcast and host of the Katie Halper Show, Katie Halper, joins us now to discuss. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And so, you know, I love a good Chuck Todd dunk just as much as the next guy, but the stat that he cited is a fascinating one. 51% of Americans say we're in a recession or a depression. That's fascinating, because we have had, over the last year, the strongest job growth, strongest wage growth in maybe American history. We've also had inflation that is attacking a lot of those wage gains. And so how does that, talk about what people are feeling right now. How does that add up in a majority of the country's mind to a recession or a depression?
Well, I mean, we have to look at the job gains as a response to a lot of losses, right? Obviously, we had this pandemic, so people like to talk about these things in kind of a vacuum, as if we started off at a decent place and things are just on the up. In fact, you know, it was quite a crisis. As people know, people felt like they were being left out to dry. The government wasn't going to come save them, wasn't going to help them, at least enough, sufficiently, right? There were things that were done. I would argue that there weren't enough things. And this is, inflation is really price gouging. That's what we're seeing. And, I think that, of course, Biden could do a lot more about this. Could enact some price controls. He's called a radical socialist anyway, and he's not. As he reminded people during the State of the Union, he is indeed a capitalist, lest anyone have any doubt. So he might as well actually do something, I think, more aggressive about this. I mean, Richard Nixon did this, not exactly a raging radical leftist socialist. So he did that when there was inflation.
Yeah, price controls can lead to shortages, though, right? I don't think we want price controls because the government doesn't know.
They can lead to re-election too, as Nixon found out.
Yeah, it's just so funny to blame right-wing misinformation or whatever, like for people's genuine feeling of not having enough, and just say, well, they're being lied to by my enemies. Of course, that must be what it is. It's such a lazy, reflexive explanation that the mainstream media grasps for.
Right. Well, it's funny because if they're saying the right-wing echo chamber is doing a good job, they should be looking at why, not that they would admit this publicly, but they are the liberal echo chamber, right? So what are they doing wrong? And Jennifer Palmieri saying we don't repeat what we're told. Yeah, because there's no diversity of opinion. Like maybe they don't repeat what they're told consciously, but they all think the same thing in the first place, which is a problem. You get no diversity on these shows like Meet the Press or any MSNBC or NBC shows. So either they don't have any diversity of thought in the first place, or lots of them are internalizing. They know what they can say, right? They know what happened to, Phil Donahue getting removed from MSNBC for being anti-Iraq war. So this whole idea that there's some kind of vibrant debate and intellectual honesty in liberal media that doesn't exist on the right-wing media is just, it's delusional.
It's really interesting, though, that when they came out with the other stats on CNN and saying that 41% of viewers did not, or it was 41% who viewed the State of the Union address favorably, whereas and that's the lowest in 15 years. That's pretty astonishing. So it kind of shows that Chuck Todd seemed to be not in line with how people are actually feeling. And I know that, even if there are a lot of jobs that are out there, which I still can't figure out why we're having a hard time finding workers. Like, where did these people go? It's like Thanos came along and snapped his fingers and half the world disappeared or something. But there are a lot of jobs available. Supposedly wages are maybe increasing. But I know many of us are feeling the prices raising. Grocery bills are way higher. Gas bills are way higher. Energy bills are way higher. I've been shocked every month at how much my bills are going up. It's been stressful. So, there is we can't just say, well, the health of the economy is just jobs and even an increase in wages. But how much increase of wages are people actually experiencing when they go for these jobs? And maybe that's why the jobs are still empty.
Right. I think people are used to, I think that what we saw is people kind of changed expectations. I think COVID was a game changer for people. People were, had to work from home. People lost their jobs. And I think it was kind of a moment for people to reflect on what their lives actually mean and how their lives are appreciated or not appreciated by their employers. And that's a whole other conversation. But I think that, in terms of people responding to the State of the Union, he spent 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes wasn't about the State of the Union. It was about, I would say, condemning Russia,
right,
which I didn't think was a State of the Union. I knew he would talk about it, of course, because it's a great way to deflect from all the failures. No forget student loans. You don't have to talk about that. You just talk about Russia, Russia, Russia. So we saw that. And the other thing is that, I personally really enjoyed the State of the Union. I enjoyed the best part of it by far was Nancy Pelosi's weird 1990s dance move, which is like, I don't even know what that was. It was kind of like a stereotype of something that doesn't yet exist, but should exist. I don't even know what it was, honestly, but it was very
that was
fiendish.
90s rave scene, absolutely.
It was 90s, right? Yeah.
I'd like to know what cocktail was involved in that.
What makes a woman excited about the prospect of people inhaling toxic gas? Our military men and women, which is what she literally got excited about.
Kim talked about the labor shortage. I think the collapse of immigration is something that nobody discusses in the context of the collapse of the labor shortage. But I also think that housing, gas prices, yes, grocery bills are up. But I think that housing and the cost of housing is what's driving this. Because I think it's obviously the data is clear. We're not in a recession or depression. But in some ways, I think it's almost worse than that. Like we're in a completely broken economy. Like if you don't currently own a home or own a condo, you don't see any path toward getting there. And the entire American dream, the entire economy is built around the idea that you work hard enough, you're going to be able to get some home ownership, and that home ownership is going to be your path to wealth creation that you can then use to pay for your kids' college and pass down to your kids and pay for your own retirement. With that piece broken off, then all you have is the rest of it. And you add on top of that 2 years of a pandemic.
We have a massive artificial constraint on the housing supply. That constraint is called the government.
Yeah. Well, we've been dealing with that, though, for a long time. I mean, the housing issue and not being able to afford a home is not really new.
It's pretty
but
new.
what I mean, I would say
yes,
that a lot of us have felt like we
exacerbated,
haven't been able to buy a home for years now, especially in these larger cities.
In the 2000s, anybody could get a loan. And
Sure,
that
but
was
I
what
mean-
created the financial crisis
Right.
and wiped
even
out
in the
everybody's
last
wealth.
5 years, we've all been feeling like, it's difficult to buy a home,
Yeah.
5-10 years or so.
Yeah.
But what is new right now is we are seeing whether or not the economy on paper still looks like it's doing well, and they could say, no, we're not in a recession or a depression right now. Many of us disagree with that, because even if on paper, the way that they fudge the numbers looks fine, we're all feeling it. We're feeling it at the gas pump. My grocery bill is 30% higher. That's outrageous. Who can afford that when they're on a fixed income? Older people cannot afford that. They're feeling that. We've got energy bills. I mean, my electric bill is 30% higher over last year. So that is what people are looking at. They're shocked when they get their bills.
You got to get out of LA, Kim.
Well, yeah, it's a nationwide issue. I know it, but it's not. But this is
No,
this
it is
is a
nationwide.
problem
The economy is broken.
It's nationwide, but it's worse in the places that progressives, the liberals want to live, and thus are governed by people of the similar ideology. Is where it's worst.
It's probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'll call my family in Idaho and find out if their bills are higher too. But I think they are. I think they're higher there, just like they are here.
I just also think it speaks to such a sense of entitlement and out of touch that Chuck Todd is so comfortable condemning people for expressing that they're experiencing financial hardship, and that he has to attribute it to right-wing talking points. Shouldn't he at least say this behind closed doors at his dinner parties and not openly on on actual television? I mean,
he did say at least, or there's something else going on in it, but then the entire panel just goes, no, right-wing talking points.
It's like
It's
like that Simpsons meme of I think it's the principal. I actually don't really watch The Simpsons. Say, am I out of touch? No, it's the kids who must be wrong. Yes. Am I out of touch? No, it's the suffering people of America who must be wrong. Anyway, we got to go.
Kim, we got to leave it there.
Oh, well, he does say he says at the end, if you don't like it, go live in another country. He just sounds such like get off my lawn energy. So, Chuck, get a grip, Chuck.
Well, thank you for holding Chuck accountable, Katie. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we'll be back with more Rising right after this.